Hello everybody again. We are back to just looking at sort of basic Photoshop adjustments to kind of get you started. And we're going to look a bit at playing with some color right now. So we talked about cropping, we talked about levels and a little bit about layers, then we talked about going through the Enhance tab and looking at adjusting color variations. So we're going to look a little more in this little box. So there's a few things you can do here that are just sort of basic, simple adjustments. The easiest one is adjust hue and saturation. And again, I like to move the box over so you know I can actually see what I'm doing. So hue is the kind of color you see. So generally if you make monster changes here, you're going to get a totally different image and it's going to look a little bit unnatural, which can be okay if that's what you're going for. Just be aware that when you move the hue around, the image is going to start to look really, really different. So hold it down, you can slide it, and if you look at the changes, Photoshop kind of lies to you. Because like if you look at the color where it shows pink, it doesn't look pink. But what it's doing is it's adding things to your current spectrum. You can see that it definitely has a look of slightly unnatural. So just be aware that when you're making those changes, it can look quite different. If you want to change that, I don't think for this image that actually works. So I'm just going to leave it maybe a little bit of a change, but not much. Saturation is how bold and crazy and colorful stuff is. So you can take a photo that's quite dull and overcast, and you can crank up the saturation to make it look a little wilder. So obviously if you go all the way to the left of saturation, it's desaturating. So it's taking out all the color and it'll convert it into sort of a grayscale black and white. If you go right, it slowly starts to put more color in. And if I'm back to 0, if I go all the way, all of a sudden she has like crazy demon eyes and it's totally unnatural. So what I would recommend, just if you're starting and you like sort of a natural look, don't go much past 15. That's a rule that exists to be broken because you can definitely go past 15 in certain situations and if you have a really dull photo. But to keep it natural, try starting around 15 and then just bump it up a little bit at a time, because in this picture I start to lose naturalness at about 50, just depends on the image. So bump up in small changes. Lightness you can do in here as well. There's lots. The joy about Photoshop is you can do the same thing in like 20 different places. So you can do it in color variations, you can do it in the other place we showed you with darken shadows and highlights. But lightness is also a slider here. But again, if you're gonna darken stuff, it's really hard to darken things without losing image quality. And it's really hard to lose it without it sort of modifying that picture into a different look. See, it turns quite dark and it starts to get a gray. You lose your whites. It kind of just darkens down the whites. So if you want a high contrast image, not going to go so well. Whereas lightness, again, it just blocks it totally out. So play with this. It's just another place to do that. Click OK. The next thing we're going to do, same place, adjust color. And play with all of these. If I want to remove a color cast, you basically want to get rid of something. So use your little dropper and choose all these, see what you go. I usually go 3 by 3 and then I press OK. You have to do this quite a lot of different places to kind of get where you want. It's not really a tool that I use all the time. I find better places to do it. So play around with that if you want it, but know that that's not going to be a really big focus. Remove color, super easy, just takes out the color. Desaturates it so there's no color left. Again, if you don't like that, under your remove color, or you can just press Control Z. I'll try to throw you some keystrokes along the way, because when you get heavy into Photoshop, it is all keystrokes. Back into adjust the color. You can also replace the color through here. I adjust color curves quite often, and this gives me some control too. So I can choose backlighting, adjust highlights, and you can kind of see minor changes in the photo, all the way to major if I go. Backlighting is just a way to do that. I can choose to darken highlights again here, and I can do all of these things within those things too. But you get sort of images that aren't super natural if you go all the way. The default is the computer default. You can lighten shadows, you can solarize, which makes it look like super weird and just really changes the look of the image. And within all of those options you've got lots, but it really sort of gives you a little bit more control if there's an image that you like. I can also adjust the shadows to sort of take them away or put lots of them in. After that, again, press OK. And I would just recommend, if you like something, if you're committed to that, just every time you're done, go layer and flatten visible. I don't need to do it here, it's not asking me to, but often it'll ask you to do a new layer. So I'm going to stop it there too and give you guys a bit of time to play there.